So, we were just talking though, but it seems like every day something's happening. Has it slowed or has it increased at all? What are your thoughts?
Well, 2021 has been a difficult year. It's been, one weekend, one tragic incident after another. 120 homicides, really, I think illuminates how difficult it's been in the city of Oakland, but not only the numbers, but how many families and how many community members have been impacted by the level of violence that we've seen in our city. And the last couple of weekends have really been troubling. The idea that the young child, Jasper Wu, would be shot in our city, but also that, again, this weekend we would have a shooting where an 11-year-old was shot. It's just, I think for all of us, we are recognizing that this is a tough time for us, and we want to work with community. We want to work with our violence prevention to make sure that we can address this violence. And so I'm optimistic because we are beginning our ceasefire strategy again. We're coming out of the pandemic and having more direct contact with those involved in violence, offering support and services. We hope that helps. But it really is challenging in this moment with a really small police force where we've seen significant departures from our department. So it really is a challenge.
You mentioned Jasper Wu, and I think that's one of those cases where people are like, my goodness, like, how did this happen? How did that young boy get caught in all of this? And it makes people go, wow, well, nobody is safe. Yeah. What would your message be to the people that live here and the people that are reluctant to even come to this city?
Well, I want people to know that we are working around the clock to identify the people responsible for these violent crimes. And although the California Highway Patrol is the lead agency on that investigation, we are directly supporting that investigation and helping out in any way we can. But we have these incidents happening in Oakland frequently, far too frequently, where hundreds of bullets are being shot in residential neighborhoods. Random bullets that could hit anybody, could go into anyone's home and cause that type of hurt and pain to any family. And so that concerns us. And we had an incident like that last week where over 150 rounds were fired in one shooting in one neighborhood. That community has to deal with that. Those bullets don't have names on them, and they potentially could have hit a child even then. And so we have to, as a community, say that for those that pick up guns in our community, they need to be held accountable, that we need the support of the district attorney's office as well as our judges to hold people in custody who commit violent crimes like that. This is a call for everybody to recognize this moment. People in Oakland deserve to be safe just like any other city. The behavior in this city is unacceptable, and I don't know how anybody could rest at night and tolerate this violence. As somebody like myself who lives in this city, it keeps me up at night. I hear the gunshots. I'm calling my officers asking what is going on, and we're doing our best to respond. But this takes community to get involved as well. People know people who are picking up guns, and you have to ask them to stop this behavior. This is unacceptable, and it's causing hurt and pain in people's homes, their families. Loved ones are being lost every day. It's really tragic. I met with the family of the 11-year-old. I went to a children's hospital and sat with her dad. I know the pain that I've seen in his face, and I've seen it in the faces of too many other families. This needs to stop.
Unfortunately, a lot of this seems cyclical. Like, one crime is committed, and that somebody's trying to make up for another crime, pay back for another crime. And you just mentioned the community, but when they're living in these communities surrounded by this, it's hard for them to go, wait, stop. I mean, well, how can community members do this without putting themselves at risk?
I've been throughout the city, and I've been doing an initiative called Conversations Towards Solutions. And what that essentially means is I've been meeting with small community groups and discussing that very issue. How do they, what role do they play? How can they help in this challenging moment where they have fear of providing information, fear of retaliation. What I've been saying to community is that we need to partner, but we also need more resources to be able to exercise some level of preventative patrol in Oakland. We are so consumed right now for calls for service. With our low staffing numbers, it makes it difficult for us to just prevent crime, to get out into our community where we know crimes are happening, walk around, have a presence, be a deterrent. People don't shoot where police are parked. people don't rob people when an officer is right there. But that's a resource issue. And we, unfortunately, don't have the number of resources we need to be able to provide that level of prevention, but that's what we hope. And that's why I'm a huge advocate of the need to actually grow the department instead of shrinking. This department is smaller than it was even 7 months ago. We've lost over 60 officers in the last 6 months. And now we're currently at the lowest number we've had in many years, which is 681. With an expectation of in the middle of 2022, we'll get even smaller because of more frozen positions. I think we all have to have a conversation about what is it going to take to make Oakland a safe city that we all want to live in.
You know, maybe it was a year or two ago, there was this huge cry for defund the police. And it seems like, you know, it caught some fire and there was some movement in that. Do you have a feeling with the amount of crime that's happened in this community in Oakland that has kind of slowed down, and maybe people are starting to realize how valuable you guys are to the community?
I hope that people are beginning to recognize the value of having a law enforcement presence in the community. Obviously, with the high level of calls that we're taking in every day, nearly 2,000 calls a day, says that people are in need of police services. Oftentimes people have a significant delay in us responding to their calls. And that's unfortunate because people lose confidence in the system when we don't respond in a timely manner. I mean, I grew up here, and growing up here, you always knew that there was a fractured relationship between law enforcement in the department, but that's what I've been trying to mend. That's what I've been trying to do, is engage with community, build trust in this community, because we need police officers. We need people in this community to step up so that they know we are coming, we are there to help them be safe. But now, with these current staffing numbers, it makes it really challenging to be there when people need you.
You talked about the staffing numbers, and I think last time you were here talking, you said you were at 697, now you're at 681. How are you going to catch up here? Because I know there was some issues with the academy not being able to bring enough people in. Do you see this department growing like you said you wanted to, or is it going to take a while for it to do that?
Well, I've seen, people begin to step up and take on this opportunity. One of the things I've asked people is to be a part of the change they want to see. And a lot of people have stepped up. We started an academy on this past Monday with 39 new trainees. And that's an increased number compared to what we've seen in the last several academies. And so there are people who are willing to come to Oakland and be a part of the police department. The issue is will we be able to continue to hire? Will we be able to continue to grow this department like we need to? It's challenging when you have 550 shootings in your city and 120 homicides, and you don't have an adequate number of investigators to actually investigate those crimes. Our case closure rate sits around 35%. But 2 years ago, that case closure rate was about 50%. But that's when we had 72 homicides. When you're at 120, you double the workload with the same number of investigators. It makes a difference, and so we welcome more resources. We hope that those in the community who feel like there's a need for more resources make sure their voices are heard.
From someone looking from the outside, I go, my goodness, why would anyone want to become a police officer? I mean, the amount of crime that you have to deal with in this city. And when you do good work, it seems like at the next level, you mentioned the district attorney's office to make sure that these criminals are prosecuted. It seems like there's not a lot of support there sometimes. What keeps an officer keep doing this every day?
Well, I think your passion for helping people, your passion for service. I'm oftentimes reminding officers of why we chose this profession, because it can be difficult. I think the people of Oakland need us, and officers are seeing every day people's appreciation for them. I think although you hear the small percentage of people who are anti-police or may not like the police, there are a lot of people in the city who really appreciate the work that these officers do, and we continue to appreciate them within the department to say thank you for coming, thank you for every day going out there to do what you can to make this city safe. They deserve more appreciation for the work that they're doing. This is a challenging job in a very challenging city, but they come here every day motivated to do the best job they can under very difficult circumstances. So
maybe a message of hope to end all of this, but I mean, for people, you know, it seems like there are a lot of people that are coming forward, victims of crime. You know, I think there was a woman who lost her son a few years ago, maybe 10 years ago, and now she's working with the Department of Violence Prevention, I think, to reach out to every victim of a murder.
Yeah.
And is that working, the Department of Violence Prevention and the police department? Is it coming to a point where both sides are kind of working together to try to build something, and some results are happening?
Yeah, we really are coming together and working closely with each other. They are supporting us at all of these homicide and shooting scenes. They are trying to mediate conflicts that could potentially lead into retaliation, which I think is really key. So they play an intricate role in our ability to address gun violence. And so we appreciate all of the mothers who have been victims of violence stepping up. We have had a great relationship with them as well, as they come out and really message to those involved in violence about the importance of being safe and understanding the impact of their decisions. And so I really believe that it is a collaborative effort between a department and the Department of Violence Prevention, but most importantly, community. We at OPD have hired our own victim specialists to actually reach out to families, because simply because a case hasn't been closed in a year or we haven't identified that person doesn't mean that that family is not still seeking justice. And so we hired a specialist to continue to meet with our families and give calls to our families and keep them updated in our investigations. We want to let families know that your loved one has not been forgotten. We're going to continue to try to find the people responsible, no matter how long it takes.
Well, Chief, is there anything else you'd like to add about what's going on?
I really believe that in this moment, it is a call for all of us to come together. Even if we were given resources, they won't be here tomorrow. It is not an overnight process. But what can happen right now in this moment is that if people see something, they can share that information with us. If people want to see people held responsible for this, they should share information with us. The littlest bit of information could be that bit of information that could change the outcome of a case. And so just know, we all have to come together, that when one person commits a violent act, if we don't bring them to justice, who says that they won't commit a second violent act? We have to send a message of safety in Oakland. I think all of us can get behind a safe city.
I mean, if